listening to the Curls and Courage podcast.
I know faking it gets exhausting. Here, we keep it real. You guys, what's up? And welcome back to another episode of the Curls and Courage podcast. I'm your host, Kensley Meeks, wellness entrepreneur, fitness coach, bikini bodybuilder, and digital creator, here to inspire you to live boldly and unlock your highest physical and mental potential. As always, I hope you guys are feeling good, making gains, of course, keeping the vibes up. Last week's episode was all about sustainable fitness habits, but we kind of leaned more into the curls part of Curls and Courage, right? A little bit more of the fitness aspect, but today I want to lean heavily into the courage part of my show and talk about a problem that I feel like a lot of people face, including myself. I feel like everyone goes through some type of struggle with their mental health at some point in their life, whether it's anxiety, depression, self-doubt, overthinking, which we're going to talk about today. It could be anything for you, but not that many people in the social media space are really bold enough to talk about it. And I get it, it's hard. It's not the most fun topic to discuss. However, when you are willing to be a little bit more vulnerable and share the experiences that you've been through with other people, I believe that it has the potential to help someone in a way that is positive, right? So you may be able to help someone who's potentially going through a similar struggle as you just by speaking up about it. And that's really why I love podcasting, be able to kind of share my experiences with you guys and hoping that you do not make the same mistakes. So it's going to be a serious episode, but also we're going to put some fun in there, of course. You know, we got to if you're listening to my show. But let me explain. I highly struggle with overthinking. It's almost like my brain will not stop. Like, if overthinking was an Olympic sport, just call me Simone Biles. I mean, at this point, I'm Michael Phelps. I'm Usain Bolt when it comes to overthinking, okay? Deciding what my schedule is going to look like, answering a text, or literally picking a song, it sounds simple, right? But to me, no, not so simple. I've spent 5 hours deciding something that should take me like 5 minutes in the past. Y'all, it's gotten pretty absurd at this point, okay? And unfortunately, I know I'm not the only one who struggles with this issue, but let me tell you guys, this year, 2026, I am beyond finished with overthinking. Deciding on what emoji to send back to a damn text message is not going to be an issue for me anymore. It's going to be a heart, maybe it's going to be a smiley face, I don't know, but I'm going to be decisive about it. And I highly suggest that you guys stop with the overthinking too. Like, please just chill. We got to be more decisive. We got to make good decisions and just keep moving forward. So, in today's episode, I'm talking all things overthinking. Why we do it, what it's teaching us, and how I'm finally learning to overcome this habit. First thing, why do we overthink? Basically the first step to changing, improving, or controlling our behavior instead of letting it destroy us. And if we don't understand why we do what we do, we're literally just reacting to life. We're not necessarily living it. And to live a life with purpose, you have to decide what is serving you and what is not. And obviously we all want to live a life that is fulfilling, that is purposeful, right? So the first thing why we overthink is we just got a fear of making mistakes. You overthink things because you're scared, okay? And I think this was probably my number one in the past. I was scared to fail. I was scared of making a mistake that would set me back in the future. But you have to understand that life is going to be full of mistakes, and indecisiveness is oftentimes a worse mistake than just choosing the wrong decision in the moment. Secondly, I feel like we want to control our outcomes. I learned that this is not usually possible in life. Actually, this is one thing that bodybuilding taught me. You may be the hardest worker. You may put in the work every single day, stick to your plan 100%, kill yourself with dieting and training 365 days out of the year. That's the entire year, right? But you may still, when you step on stage, place 15th or 7th or place last when you feel like you should have placed first. You never know the outcome, but you're willing to put in the risk, although you don't know the return. Great lesson again from bodybuilding. But I will say, in a lot of my contest preps, especially, it led to so much overthinking when we kind of relate it back to bodybuilding. You know, should I really be eating this? Do my legs look okay today? Maybe I should do an extra hour of cardio, just so many things. But main reason I tell you guys this is it's important to have direction and be working towards a life that you want, but life again is full of uncertainties, so you never really know what might come your way, and you have to learn to be okay with that. Thirdly, we overthink because we have a habit of analyzing every single option. So this goes out to my slow test takers out there. I remember even when I was back in high school, I used to hate taking tests, just did not like it. And the reason being wasn't because I had to sit and use my brain, nothing like that. I just hated making the decision. When I'm taking a test, it could be A, it could be B. I'm like, maybe the answer is C, maybe the answer is D. Any of these could work. So I would be taking the SAT, for example. That test, I believe, is 154 questions. And whoever was examining us right at the time, making sure that we got our work done, would be like, hey, you guys have 5 minutes left to go. And I'm on question 60 out of 154 because I just can't make up my mind. And it's because I'm overthinking everything. At this point, your brain is just doing too much. And sometimes the answer is just not as complicated as it seems. And then lastly, we overthink because it's just our natural brain chemistry. We want to feel certain, but again, that is just not how life works. When things feel unclear, naturally your brain starts searching for the answer, searching for clarity and safety, really. When things feel unclear, you start to feel this stress overwhelming in your body, and your mind goes into this analyzing that I mentioned earlier to regain control. But your brain is really just out there trying to protect you. So please do not be fooled. You just can't be certain about big decisions sometimes, and small ones too. But from my experience, you have to learn to be okay with taking the risk, taking chances, and just making the best decision that you can. Tying this back into another personal thing that I've been through, most of you guys know I was not born in Miami where I live now. I was born in Mobile, Alabama. And moving from my small town was probably the hardest decision in my life that I'd say I've ever made. And it was definitely a decision that I had to just take a risk for and not know the outcome. I pretty much bet everything on my move. For those of you who don't know, when I first moved down here, I had no clients. I had no money, really, because I spent it all trying to get an apartment here, which was absolutely crazy expense for me at the time, especially compared to being back home in Alabama with your family and having no bills. On top of that, you have no family, no friends, you don't know the area. So you're just taking this big leap of faith, although you don't know the outcome, right? Super, super risky, but you have to be okay, like I said, with taking risks. So if I would have waited for things to be clear and things to be perfect and me to know exactly what was coming my way, I never would have made the move. And that move was the most pivotal decision in my life from a personal perspective, from a career perspective, just in multiple ways, right? But I want to move into why overthinking is actually the worst thing that you can do. Why is it bad? Number one, you waste time, okay? Anyone who knows me knows I hate wasting money, but one thing I hate more than wasting bands is wasting time and energy. And that's exactly what you do. Not only do you waste your time, but also you're wasting your brain power. And unfortunately, our brains only have so much power throughout the day. Your brain starts getting exhausted when you overthink because it's just an overdrive. So, you may be thinking about a decision for 3-4 hours, and then it gets to the end of that time, you still haven't made a decision, and you're like, man, I just am so tired. I just want to go crawl in my bed and just hibernate for a couple years. I feel you. That has also been me. Why overthinking is bad. Number 3, you get decision paralysis. When your brain treats a simple choice like it's a life or death situation, this is what this means. You start again looking for this perfect answer that in reality does not exist. There's no perfect answer, okay? And instead of choosing anything, you choose nothing. 4th, I feel like you miss opportunities, and this is a big one. Even the person who may have made the wrong decision is still going to be ahead of you, because while you're stuck buffering, they're moving. They're learning, they're adapting, and they're growing. You can't spend all of your life just thinking and waiting and waiting and waiting, because you will miss big opportunities. And I'm a firm believer in the fact that some opportunities really are only going to happen to you once in a lifetime opportunities. You can't let your brain spiral and make you miss those big moments in life that you may never be able to get back. Want to move into what overthinking has taught me. Number one is self-awareness. You have to kind of notice things about yourself. The importance of understanding you is vital because you got to know your behavior, you got to know your patterns, you got to know your thought loops and your reactions in order to better yourself. And that's what a big part of Curls and Courage is, right? Bettering yourself. That's a huge value of mine. We always want to strive to be better at the end of the day. And then next, overthinking has taught me to take action. Make the decision. Just make some sort of decision that will end the loop in your mind. Again, making the wrong choice is much better than making no choice at all. And then say you do make the wrong decision. Well, you learn from your mistakes. Nobody's perfect, right? That's that Hannah Montana right there. And I swear, she had a good line with that one, okay? She right, for real. You can't always expect yourself to be perfect. And messing up is just a part of life. Life is messy. And without mistakes, honestly, life would be pretty boring. And then this is on a little bit more of a side note, but I feel like overthinking has also taught me how to use humor, if that makes sense. I'm the type of person to where when it's work time, I'm serious, but outside of work, like I like to be goofy, I like to be funny, and using humor is kind of a way to cope. Like if something's bad, I'm like, well, let me just laugh at myself, and it's kind of similar to overthinking in a way. Like, girl, why the hell are you stressing so much about going to the gym at 2 p.m. versus 6 p.m.? This is what I ask myself. It just makes me laugh. It's just not that serious. And again, humor is a very valid way to cope. You have to be able to laugh at yourself. Next thing I want to talk about is strategies. This is probably the most important part of today's episode. We know why we overthink. We know obviously it's not a good thing, it's bad. But the most important thing is, how can I stop? This is what I'm doing, and it has been extremely helpful. First thing is, you need to force yourself to decide in a reasonable amount of time. What is a reasonable amount of time? I think when it's a small decision, that should be made on the spot or within a couple minutes. If it's a life-changing moment, yeah, maybe take a couple hours, maybe process it, maybe, ask some people that you care about and that care about you for some advice, but don't sit on it for too long. Force yourself to, again, decide in a reasonable amount of time. Even if you're setting a time limit, most of the time, to be honest with y'all, no, you don't need to sleep on it. You don't need to wait a couple days. Just make the decision. You know in your gut most of the time what is right. You just are scared. Again, that fear always comes up in life. Successful people know how to make quick decisions. They're not always perfect, but they're always timely. They value momentum over perfection. They see decisions as feedback, and they trust themselves to adapt if they end up not making the right move, if things don't go out as planned. They're confident, right? Instead of waiting for certainty, they act. They take action, they move forward. If you want clarity, you gotta have motion. You gotta move. Don't overthink. Another thing I like to do, a strategy I use very frequently, is called a physical reset. This especially goes for big decisions in my life that I have to make. When I know my brain is tired, maybe I've had a long day and I still have this big decision that I have to make and I'm overthinking it, I'm not going to procrastinate, but I'm just going to take a small break and then come back. This really helps you when your brain is kind of in this negative spiral, just thinking about what if. Just take a step away from it and come back. Again, just to reiterate, we're not wasting time, we're not procrastinating, we're just going for a little walk. Maybe we're going for some type of movement. For me, normally I'll go box, I'll go train, I'll dance a little bit, anything that's gonna take my mind off of that overthinking and off of that maybe choice or decision that I have to make, and come back to it just a little bit later within a timely manner. After I do this, I find that physical reset helps my mind feel more clear and more refreshed when I come back to that decision or thing that's really consuming my mind a little bit later. When you move, your brain actually releases chemicals that improve your mood and focus. Not just talking, y'all, this is a proven scientific fact. You release dopamine, you release serotonin, you release endorphins that actually make you feel better when you move. So why we seated so much, I do not get it, okay? Cortisol is also lowered when you take a little bit more of a physical reset. Cortisol is your body's main stress hormone that's literally fueling those racing thoughts when you're overthinking. It's just giving your brain gas and gas and gas. So take a step away from it. Again, get some movement in, come back, and I promise you, you will feel at least a little bit better, because sometimes that cortisol, it just needs to chill. Like, I don't know why it's working so hard, but it just needs to take a step back. The next thing I like to do is write things down. When I find myself overthinking, I like to write down pros and cons and just like thoughts. Sometimes seeing things visually, getting things out just on a sketchbook or a piece of paper will help you more than you think. Just spend a few minutes getting your thoughts down, reading over them visually, and then moving on. And the final strategy is you have to learn to be okay with making mistakes. This is tough. This is something I'm still working on, because it's more of like a mind reframe, especially if you're someone who is more of like a perfectionist. You want to be the best at what you do. Major pro in life, but it can also have some downsides. So reframing your mindset to thinking that mistakes can actually be a good thing is a great place to be. At least I learned something, right? And I know, all right, I will not be making that mistake again. This is how you grow. And in all honesty, you guys have heard the phrase, you don't know what you don't know. So how we learn is by failing, making mistakes, and trying again. Mistakes will always teach you faster than success. When you make a mistake, it's like your brain says, all right, now I'm going to pay attention. Failure shows you what doesn't work, which is way more valuable than repeating what already does. You're learning lessons and you're building resilience. So to wrap up today, let me leave you guys with this. Please stop overthinking. Guys, I told you, I have had enough. I don't want to do it anymore. You don't want to do it anymore. Even small decisions teach awareness, self-trust, valuable lessons, and sometimes humor. So reframe your mindset, focus on these tips, and at the end of the day, don't let your brain go into that protection mode that we spoke about earlier. We got to push past it. Before we end today's show, I always like to end with a listener question. If you guys do have questions that you'd like to send in, best way to have your question featured on the show is to reach out to @CurlsAndCouragePodcast on Instagram, or my personal account @YoIt'sKenslow is also a great way to reach me. Also, just to connect more, see updates on the show. I get a lot of content posted, so trying to stay consistent with that. But this was a great question. One of my clients actually asked me this. So this client of mine was basically telling me about an influencer who has a lot of followers that she saw on social media, who was basically preaching that like strength training is not good. Like strength training is bad. She's like, the only thing I do is Pilates, and this is how I look the way that I do. Strength training places so much stress on the body and you should not be doing it. And obviously as a trainer, I'm like, girl, what the hell? Like, that makes no sense. So the question is, can working out actually harm your body, even in true strength training, by putting it under too much stress? And the answer is no. Strength training is not dangerous or bad stress. It's actually good stress on your body. The human body is very smart, believe it or not. So if you give it a challenge, good structure in your training routine, intensity, good quality workouts, true strength training, proper nutrition, good rest, and good recovery, it's going to get stronger. There is different types of stress. Now, if you're going in and you're murdering your body every single day, taking every single exercise you do to failure, never taking rest days, running 15 miles, and then going to deadlift like y'all know I did in my past, yes, of course that is bad stress and your body is not going to be able to handle it. But again, with true structure, with good quality training, focused on rest and recovery, that is the type of stress that you actually want on your body. It's good stress, okay? Most people are not going to have a problem with overtraining. So I think it goes to say, do not be fooled by social media. You have to always listen to your body and do your research. Of course, everyone's body in response to strength training is going to be different, but this is just not true. So that is my take. And then if you guys do need any help with personal training, nutrition coaching, I am accepting one-on-one training and nutrition online clients. So would love to help you build some muscle, lose some body fat, whatever your goals may be. I'm happy to support. If you're interested, shoot me an email at kensleymeeksfit@gmail.com to get started and set up a consult. Also want to encourage you guys, if you like today's show, please show me some love by rating and reviewing the show on any major podcast platform, or if you're watching the content on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, leave a like. Again, it would mean the absolute world to me as we're trying to really grow the show this year. Check out the podcast every Thursday on the radio on WDJY 99.1 FM. And thank you guys again so much for taking the time to listen or to watch today's show. Again, I really hope that it helped you. We just got to keep building that physical strength, but also building that mental strength as well. Y'all have a beautiful rest of your week, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Appreciate y'all. Bye.